Right, so there I was, last summer, standing in the middle of a park in Hertfordshire, wearing shin pads I bought in 2006 that no longer fit properly, being absolutely, comprehensively nutmegged by a 10-year-old. Not my son. Some random kid from the other team. Just came straight through my legs like I wasn't there, didn't even look up, carried on running. I stood there for a moment, hands on my knees, slightly out of breath, slightly confused about where the ball had gone, and I thought, yeah, this is exactly where I need to be on a Saturday morning. And I meant that completely sincerely. Because here is the thing nobody tells you when you are in your 20s and quietly letting all of your hobbies dissolve one by one into adult responsibility. The playing was not the childish bit. The stopping was. I did what most men do. I grew up, got a job, got busier, stopped kicking a ball around, stopped playing guitar, which I was never particularly good at but enjoyed anyway, stopped entering pub quiz nights, stopped going to the climbing wall, stopped messing about, and I told myself that was just what happened. That was maturity. That was what you did. You traded all of that in for a mortgage and a pension contribution and a bathroom tile you spent 3 weekends choosing. And I now understand, making myself slightly miserable without realising it. Not catastrophically miserable. I want to be clear. I wasn't staring into the void. I was just narrowing, like one of those doors that swells in winter and slowly, gradually starts opening less and less until one day you realise you haven't properly opened it in about 5 years. That was me, a slightly swollen door. Metaphorically. Right, for anyone new here, I'm John. This channel is called Life Lessons for My Sons, which is exactly what it sounds like. I've got 2 boys, and this is me working through the things I wish someone had sat me down and said before I wasted a perfectly good decade being unnecessarily sensible. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a coach. I'm just a bloke in his mid-40s who has got a few things figured out, give or take, mostly by getting them wrong first. And today's thing is play. Because here is what I've come to believe. Men stop playing and we call it growing up. But what it actually does is strip something out from the inside. Not dramatically, not all at once, just quietly, consistently, until you are sitting in front of a television at 9:30 on a Friday night, eating crisps out of the bag, wondering why everything feels a bit grey. And the honest answer is, you haven't done anything genuinely enjoyable for your own sake in 3 months. And watching television doesn't count. I mean actual play. Games, sport, competition, music, messing about with something you are not very good at but enjoy anyway. The stuff that has no output, no deliverable, no performance review. The stuff you do just because it makes you feel like a person. I got back into five-a-side football about 2 years ago. I am not going to pretend I'm good. I am not. I am what you might charitably describe as enthusiastic, and what the lads would probably describe as a liability in the second half. But I turn up every week, and the thing is, I'd forgotten completely how much I needed it. Not the running, though the running is probably keeping my heart going. I mean the actual experience of it. Being outside, competing a bit, having something actually at stake, even if what's at stake is just a game, getting it wrong and laughing about it in the car park afterwards, with people who have also got it wrong. Those people, by the way, are my friends now, real ones. The kind you actually call when something goes wrong, not just the kind you nod at in the street. And I'd been starving myself of that for years because I told myself I didn't have time, which was mostly rubbish. Because here's the part that always makes me think. The busyness is real. I'm not mocking anyone for being tired or burnt out, because that's real too. But I used to spend those same evenings scrolling through my phone on the sofa, not resting, not connecting, not playing, just sort of buffering, like a human internet connection from 2009. And the version of me that goes to football on Tuesday nights, or sits down on a Sunday afternoon to play a long board game with the kids that goes on 40 minutes longer than anyone planned, that version of me is better. Better husband, better dad, better at the job. Not because play is secretly productive. I hate that argument. I find it slightly depressing. But because a person who is genuinely enjoying their life is just easier to be around. Lighter, more present, less likely to be grumpy about the bathroom tiles. The tiles are a whole other thing. And it doesn't have to be impressive. That's the other bit I want to say clearly. It doesn't need to be a triathlon. It doesn't need to be an expensive road bike or a podcast about your sourdough journey. It can be cards. It can be darts at the pub. It can be a terrible local quiz where your team is called something embarrassing and you come 3rd out of 4 and drive home absolutely convinced that the question about British prime ministers was wrong. That counts. That is real play. And it matters just as much as anything else. The competitive bit matters too, actually. There's something in a proper game, something with actual stakes, even small ones, that feels different to just wandering about. I started playing chess again recently, online sometimes, against real people, and I lose constantly. I lose to people who are clearly 14. And there is something about caring about a chess game against a teenager at 11 o'clock on a Wednesday that I find genuinely invigorating. You are concentrating. You are in it. You are not thinking about anything else. That is quite rare. That is worth protecting. And then there is the part that really gets me. The boys. My kids see me go to football. They see me come home muddy and slightly limping and talking about a goal I scored, which, I will be honest with you, was from about 3 yards out and was more a collision than a finish. But they see that their dad does things for the joy of it, that adults are allowed to play, that life doesn't just shrink into work and sleep and obligation, that you are allowed to be a full person. Because I watched my own dad stop. He stopped playing golf when I was about 12. Just got busy, I suppose. And I remember thinking that was just what happened when you got to a certain age. You put things down. And I carried that idea around without ever questioning it. Carried it right into my own life, like it was just common sense. It wasn't, though. It was just a thing he did, and a thing I copied, and a thing I now want to very deliberately not hand to my boys. I want them to grow up thinking their dad is someone who plays, who laughs during a board game, who goes out on a Saturday and comes back knackered and cheerful, who picks up something new occasionally just to see if he likes it. Because children learn from what they see a lot more than from what they're told. And I would rather my boys learn that adult life can be warm and full and a bit silly sometimes than grow up thinking it has to be grey. So, if there's something here that's landing for you, please do give the video a like. It genuinely helps more people find this stuff. And subscribe if you want to keep hearing this sort of thing. Leave me a comment. What did you stop doing? What would you pick back up if you let yourself? I read every single one of them. Because I suspect quite a few of you reading this have something you used to do that made you feel like yourself. A game, a sport, an instrument, something still sitting in the corner of the garage with a layer of dust on it. Something you keep meaning to get back to but keep not quite managing because there's always something more important first. There isn't, really. That is the truth of it. There genuinely isn't. And that 10-year-old who nutmegged me in Hertfordshire, who probably went home and forgot I existed within about 4 minutes, he did me an enormous favour. Because I stood there in that park, slightly winded, shin pads sliding down, and I was laughing. Properly laughing. Not anything in particular, just because I was there, outside, in the middle of something that mattered not at all, and therefore mattered completely. That's the thing, I think. The things that don't matter at all are sometimes exactly the ones you can't afford to give up.